And I want to wish everyone a very happy day and also welcome to the regular Wednesday training webinar for local chamber influencers and for the others groups that are part of this particular training. I know that some of you will be on the replay, and I welcome you there for the replay as well, because today we have a very special guest. Her name is Susan Giddings, and she has a unicorn culture coaching is the name of her company. And she's a business coach, she's a strategist, and sales coach as well. She has, in fact, a tremendous amount of other background experiences. When I spoke with her originally, I was absolutely surprised and shocked at the things that she had developed through her life. Actually, not only in business, but her life in dealing with the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce has been a structure of her life, and she admits fully that the Chamber was certainly one way that she was successful in business. So without taking up too much of her glory and so forth, I will introduce you to Susan and let Susan get started. Hello, Susan. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Christopher. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm excited to talk to people about the Chamber. The Chamber has been a huge part of my life, and I have been a Chamber lover and promoter for many, many years because it's had such a huge impact on my business. I wanted to share with people today kind of my journey through how I got involved with the chambers and how they affected my business and how that you can utilize the chamber as well to build your business and build relationships with it. Because I can tell you that without the chamber, I could never have been as successful as I was. Those relationships I built and the connections I made it possible for me to be so successful that I could never have dreamed, and in a very quick amount of time. What I'd like to start off with, though, is some basic 101 chamber stuff, which is the chamber is the Chamber of Commerce, which means money. And the chamber is there not just to promote local businesses, but to promote the community and bring economic development to the community. And that's a very important thing because community is what we're all about and how money grows and how it changes hands. And that's why, like, when you see people promoting Small Business Saturday and they talk about how promoting local businesses and how using them keeps us 3/4 of the money in the pockets of the community, because if the money is flowing in the community, everybody is being successful. And that is a hugely important part. And so by helping the community businesses and looking at it as more than just your business and looking at the greater good of your community and how you can help other businesses and grow your community, that is going to help so much with your growing your own business. And that chamber is very much a part of that. So you have to remember that they're building the economic development of your community. And the small businesses in your community are the lifeblood. That is what the community is all about. And they tell the story of your community. And you know, if you go to a certain area and you see that it's all boutique shops and all pretty and everything, that's the story of that little community. And if you go somewhere and it's more industrial and things like that, that's the businesses in that community, that story. So the backbone of each community are the small businesses. And it is very critical to make sure that you are making your chamber strong, because the chamber is your voice in that community. And so many people don't want to join the chamber. They don't think it's doing anything. They don't think they're getting value. And that's because they don't understand the chamber and they're not using the chamber. People who just sign up for a chamber and think, okay, I'm a member, what's it doing for me? That does nothing for, well, I will change that. It does a little something for you because it gives you some credibility, because it's proven that if you are a member of a chamber and people know that, it already gives you more credibility that they may want to buy from you. So I'll give you that much. It will do that for you. But if you think you're going to get any more value out of it just by being a member and saying I'm a member, and then you complain because nothing's happening, that's not how a chamber works. You have to be a part of that chamber. You have to be an active member, and you are the voice of your business community. So when you need things, all you businesses get together and you speak to the chamber and you say, we're having a problem this and we need help. And they bring you all, they're supposed to bring it all together for you and give you that voice of one business community. But they can't do that if you're not active and a part of that chamber. And that means being on the board. It means volunteering for activities. It's making sure your voice is known and that you understand the problems and the other things that your community is facing and rallying everybody together to do something. So I know everybody's in different types of communities. Some people are in big cities and they have a really super strong big chamber that has thousands of members. And then some people are in really small communities and they have a very small chamber, and maybe it's not being as proactive or as good as it could be. Well, guess what? You have the ability to change that because you get active in your chamber. You become a part of that board because the board is what sets the tone for what's happening with the chamber and the direction it's going. And you're the business community. It's all about you. So you set the tone for what your community needs and you get the chamber to be proactive. So, and I will tell you as some of my story goes on, how I was able to help make changes to bring a chamber back that had to rebuild because of some terrible things that had happened, and how we rallied the business community around to give that chamber the ability to come back better than ever and stronger than ever and really be the hub and the heart of the business community. So, like I said, it is very important for you to look at the chamber as a place where you can use to grow your business and you can make change in your business community. So 20 years ago, I was not a part of the chamber at all. I had been in business. I've been in business for over 30 years as an entrepreneur, and I've had so many different businesses. And I had businesses that didn't really require me to go out and promote that much. It was a very specialized niche, and it was all word of mouth and bidding type work and things like that. So the chamber was there, and it just wasn't that important to me. But as our business evolved and we had a change with the way the economy was changing, I realized that in order to really move on and grow our business and be more effective, we had to get out there and be seen. And there's no better way to do that than through your chamber. So I joined the chamber and I spent the first year networking with everything I could do. Went to every event, showed my face there, tried to get introduced to as many people as I could. Now, I will tell you that when I started out, this was not the person that was there. I was shy. I was afraid. I was completely the wallflower. I didn't think, what am I going to say to people? So when I did go to a networking event, literally I walked in, I looked around, and if I saw somebody I knew, boom, ran right over to them. Safety, safety net. And then if nobody was there, I hovered in the back of the room and hid until somebody came. Now, this is not the way you network, okay? This is not what you should do. But I want you to know that you don't have to be this big outgoing person. I became this over time. I gained confidence as I became a leader, and people started looking to me. That's what changed everything about me. So if you're a wallflower right now, if you're shy, if you're afraid, you don't think you can do this, you can't talk, trust me, you can change because you become confident. You have people around you that support you, and it's a time thing. It happens over time. So even if you go to networking and you run to the person it's okay right now because they'll introduce you to other people. The main thing is that you get seen and you start going out there and you utilize that portion of the chamber, because we all know that is one of the first things that everybody as a business utilizes is the networking events. So you go to them and you show up all the time. Now, you don't show up now and then show up 3 months later, because if you're there and you're seen, you're on top of mind. And when you're on top of mind, then people recommend you for things because they think of you. So when we used to network all the time, you know, there'd be a group of us that were at every single thing, every single thing, every single thing. And the minute one of us wasn't there for some reason that week, it's like, well, where is that person? You know, and that's where you want to be, because when we had to recommend somebody, the first people that came to mind were the people who were there all the time at the events with us or volunteering with us or doing these other things. You just don't get remembered otherwise. So being visible and making relationships and building relationships with these people, this is critical to your business growth. So I started out with networking, and I got better at it with time, and I got introduced to people, and I started to know more of the community. And then the next year when board openings opened up, I volunteered to be on the board. So I'd never been on a board before, okay? This was a new experience for me. And this was a huge chamber. This was a regional chamber. So we had 30 people on the board. This was no small thing. But what was fabulous about it was I got to meet the movers and the shakers in the community. And this is so critical to you being able to be a leader. And when you're a leader, people follow you. They look to you for advice. You're visible. People are talking about you. And that is what helps you not only grow your business, but grow the direction of your community so that you are prosperous. And so the business community is getting the things that they need to do well. And you have to have a voice in that, because if something's not going right, you can't just complain about it. You have to be proactive about it. You have to go in there and you say, hey, the business community is having a signage issue. And you know, in this area here, there's too many trees. They won't let us put balloons up. They won't let us do this. We need help. And then you have this huge voice of people that can go and speak to the local government or whoever needs to, and you get results. You don't get results when you go in there as, I'm Mr. Business Owner and I need this changed in this thing because. So you have the power of the voice and the power of the chamber behind you. So anyway, I got on the board and I met the CEO of the hospital, and I met, you know, all the big business people around. And that was huge for me because I never would have met any of these people any other way. And it didn't even matter that they may not have been my perfect customer. The fact that I knew them and could build a relationship with them meant that doors could be opened for me at some point when I might need them. Because I may need to call the CEO of the hospital because maybe one of the other hospitals in their network has some construction work that's being done and I'd like to get a chance to bid on it, or maybe I need a recommendation or something. Well, who better than the CEO of one of the hospitals to do that? So you always got to look at the fact that the people that you're going to meet in the chamber and in your journey through this may not ever be a customer of yours, but they surely can have effect on the growth of your business, because they're either going to get to know you and recommend you to other people, or, you know, they can open doors to other businesses that you need. So it is really important that you create these relationships. So I got to know all these people and I was on the board, and then I started volunteering for different events that the chamber was having. So now I'm creating relationships in another way, because now we're not working together as business people or as leaders in the community. We're working as community members together to create something of value, whether it's the Small Business Saturday event or a fundraising event for the chamber or something that was going to promote our local businesses. Now we're working together and volunteering and putting this event together shoulder to shoulder as community members. So now you don't have the pressure of, you know, I'm this business and I'm trying to sell this, or I'm trying to, you know, show that I'm this. You're just regular people working together, and in a position where it's all personable. You know, you're just yourself. So you have fun, you laugh, you're doing things together, you complain together, you know, all those things. And now suddenly you've built a bunch of friends, okay? So now these other business community people are now your friends. You've built, and I built such a core of people from that. And we ended up being in all different things together as a group. We were in Rotary together. We were doing different things together. And it was amazing what that did. And again, while I'm doing all this stuff, my confidence is building. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like I'm a part of this and not an outsider. And that's critical too, because if you feel like an insider and you know these people, you're going to get more benefit out of it, right? Because you're not stepping back and just sitting out there from the outside looking in, because you don't get benefit from that. You get benefit from being active and involved and with people and hearing things, because sometimes you can come up with solutions for things for people that you didn't know existed because you didn't know their problems, and you wouldn't have heard them if you weren't there. So I built relationships with that, doing that. And all this time doing that, it was wonderful. And everything started coming together in my business. And we got, you know, I was more visible in the community. People knew my name. They knew the business name. And I started getting more business, and just business that we normally wouldn't have gotten, little things here and there. So then another year on the board, I got volunteered into, because that's what happens when you're on a board. You get volunteered into things. You don't necessarily volunteer for them. I got volunteered to be the chair of economic development. And the reason I was volunteered into that was because of the type of business I had. So being in construction and knowing about that, and having had some dealings to do with the local governments and putting together site plans and doing permitting, it was the perfect place for me. So we had a really active group of people, and we changed the community. We made a huge change. We decided, we had 5 communities together in this regional chamber, and they were always fighting with each other instead of working together. And we knew that the only way we were going to move economic development together in our region, we were called the Western Communities. That was the name of our area. We were the Western Communities of Palm Beach County. And the only way we were going to succeed in bringing in business and doing more things and being more economically viable is if we could get everybody to work together at the table. So we spent a year putting together a program where I literally went to every single government official on every city council one-on-one, and publicly made presentations to them, to the city councils on the record, asking them to appoint somebody to this group that economic development group we were doing. So we wanted one council member and the city manager to sit on this group and be actively a part of it. And we wanted it transparent, and we wanted it open. We didn't want just a little chamber group. The chamber wanted to be a powerful piece of economic development. So long story short, took me a year and all our group members, and we had an active economic development group that met every month publicly and reported back to their city councils. We reported back to our membership, and we started making a difference. We brought in the business development board, and we all worked together. So this was a fabulous thing that happened, and it really moved the chamber forward, and it moved all of our businesses forward. And that's when I started coming more into a leadership position, because now people were coming to me to ask me how we could get the chamber to do something or do something else. And that was a wonderful thing, because I was really found that my calling was helping businesses, which, you know, is why I'm a coach today. But I love the fact that I was able to do a greater good for my community, because right away I learned that the more you do for your community and the more you look beyond yourself and your business, the more successful you're going to be. Because if your community is prospering, if your businesses are prospering, and you're helping the chamber make that happen, everybody wins, including you. And you just win bigger than ever. So long story short, I was on the board for the chamber for quite a while. We did a lot of great things. I made a lot of great relationships, and my business grew tremendously. And I stepped into a leadership role in my community. Well, I sold my business after a few years, and I was sitting in between trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, because I'm a serial entrepreneur. It's just how I am. And a friend of mine who had been by my side during all of this and had been in the chamber, another very big chamber supporter and believer and all these things, she had left our community and moved about 100 miles away, and started, she kind of semi-retired, and she wanted something to do, and she got involved with the chamber there, and she decided that everybody needed a little lift. They weren't getting the economic development they needed. The businesses needed more stuff. And here she came, the big city girl into the country, very rural community, and said, we need to start a magazine. And we did it. She had Community Lifestyle magazine, the glossy ones. And if you're from any size city, you've seen them. We have a Boca Raton magazine and a Miami magazine, and all these things, and they're all over the country, and they're usually I've lost the word I need. Liked. I'm just kidding. Sorry. They're well liked by everyone, and it really promotes the community and the people in it, and it helps promote economic development. And so she I was on the chamber board, and she said, I'm going to start this magazine, and I need you guys' help. I want your backing to do this, because she also knew that using the chamber and being a part of the chamber is a great way to grow your business. Well, they all looked at her and they laughed, because here's a city of 39,000 people, and they're going, you want to do this? What? You want to take something? We're not the big city. This is never going to go over here. And she said, watch me. This is what we need. So because she was on the board and she made these relationships, who did she know? All the big business leaders in the community, the CEO of the hospital, the school board people, everybody that she needed. So what did she do? She had the door open now to go, and they would meet with her, and she made a pitch to them, and she needed 5 main businesses to be stakeholders to get this magazine launched. And all they did was they were going to make sure that between the 5 of them and what they committed to monetarily to their advertising in this magazine would give her the ability to create it and print it. She wouldn't make $1, but she knew that she could get it published and get it done. So she went and met with these 5 stakeholders and brought them in and created a long-term contract with them to where they were going to put enough advertising dollars into this publication so that she could launch it. Whether she made another dollar, she sold another ad, it didn't matter. She could get it launched, and when people could see it, that would make the difference. And sure enough, because of the relationships she'd made through the chamber and everything, she was able to sit down with them, and she was able to tell them the idea, and they were willing to take a chance because they were willing to look at a bigger picture, and they trusted her because of the relationship she'd built through the chamber, and they invested in the magazine, and the first publication came out. And the magazine was small. It was only about 40 pages, but it was glossy, and it wasn't overly fancy. But oh my God, when everybody saw that, reality struck, and they went, oh my God, I'm in the magazine, and this is in the magazine. Oh, this is going to work great. And the chamber was thrilled because, they had helped birth this and help promote it because she was a member of the board and everything. And then they took this magazine, the chamber did, and used it for economic development to promote their community. So when they were going to talk to businesses, they would go to Atlanta and to these other places to talk to people about bringing their businesses to their community. Guess what they took with them? This magazine that said, look what a great community we have, and bring your business here. And what does that do for the local businesses? It creates money flow and economic development. It created tourism. It did all these things. So she went along with this for about 4 or 5 years. And in that time, her son got extremely ill. And she came to me and she said, would you come out and run the magazine for me? And I told her she was nuts because I'd never done anything like that. But nonetheless, I'm not going to turn down my friend whose son is desperately ill to say I'm not going to do it. So I had already in my mind said yes to her. So it was a lot involved here because this is a long way from my home. So I literally had to move out there and live there in order to run the business and then come home on the weekends or my husband come out. But I did this. And she said to me, she said, I know you can do this because you're a community person. You're the same as me. You love the community. You're a chamber person. You are perfect for running the magazine. For this is all about community. This is all about business. It is what you love. Regardless of the fact I didn't know actually anything about publishing, that was beside the point. So anyway, I went out there, and of course, the first thing I did was because of my background, I took her place on the chamber board, right? And I'm on the board right away, and I'm another new girl from the city coming in. And so, of course, because I was helping and taking her place, they welcomed me in. And now I had to meet everybody in the community to be able to be successful to run the magazine for her. The chamber made that possible for me. Now, the chamber was in a rebuilding process. They had only been back operating maybe 2 or 3 years at that point. They had a chamber running before, and there were some money issues, and somebody had done something with money, and they had ended up having to close down the chamber completely. And people lost a lot of trust in the chamber. And so they were really in this rebuilding process. And when I got on the board and started doing these things, I was trying to think about, well, here's the community magazine. How can we help the chamber? So anyway, I was in this for about 6 months, and my friend came to me and she said, I'm not going to be able to come back. Will you buy the magazine? And, by then I was addicted to it, hook, line, and sinker. So of course I did. And then I was really immersed in the community because the community now knew I was a permanent fixture. I wasn't the temporary publisher. I wasn't any of that. I was there. And so I dove right into, okay, now I'm here. Now I'm going to work with the chamber and we're going to see what we can do to really blow this out of the water. And I knew I needed more income because a quarterly magazine was not going to be enough to support me. And I had already grown it exponentially on my own, but it's still, a quarterly magazine wasn't enough. So I went to the chamber and I said, look, I got an idea for how we can grow the chamber and give it the ability to have cachet again and have people believe in it. I want to print another magazine. So I want to do a community guide. And instead of me just doing the community guide for me under my name, how about if we partner and we make it the chamber community guide? And the chamber is the focus of this. And this is all about our businesses and our community. And you'll have a real economic development driver tool here for you to use. And when tourists come and when people come looking at the community, they come to the chamber and they're going to get one of these books. And one of these books is going to tell you everything about the community and how the fishing is on the lake and how all these things are. And it's fabulous. So we went ahead and they agreed to this. And what this did was you had to be a chamber member and you had to be a part of it. And so it helped build the chamber membership. So it was a win-win situation all the way around. I got to add another publication to what I was doing, which brought me revenue, which is what I desperately needed. The chamber was able to build its membership because here was me and my staff out there growing the chamber membership as we sold advertising. The chamber was out there promoting this publication for me. So they were opening doors to businesses I'd never met before by saying, this is great and look what Susan's doing and we're partnering together to do this. And since everybody knew already my reputation for the publication I was already printing, they were more than happy to see something else glorious come out. So everybody won with this. So the chamber won because we kept continually built the membership. The community won because they had another beautiful publication with which they can promote economic development specifically with. So they could give out for tourism, and they could give out to new people coming and help promote them again, so that people were coming to visit. And it's like, oh, look at this restaurant. I'm going to go, oh, look at that boutique. And they're looking at it in there. And then my other magazine, my lifestyle magazine, just helped cement that behind that, because they were advertising in that and the stories about the community. And it made them understand what the community was and who it was and what it was about. Everybody won. Everybody won. And while I was doing all that, I was looking at other ways that we could help promote business. So I created Business of the Year awards, and I helped implement that in the chamber. We started a promotion for Small Business Saturday, where you had to get a passport and go to all these different businesses and have them all check off this stuff, so that you would win this big prize at the end, so that our businesses had other ways to promote themselves. And what this did for my business, for me, was I was the champion of businesses. I was out there between my business, between the chamber, between all these programs. They knew I had the community interest at heart. They knew I had the business interest at heart. So anything I needed for my business, the door was open for me. If I needed an introduction to somebody, if I came by talking to them about a publication I was going to do, or some special thing, or when I did marketing stuff, I did a lot of marketing collateral. People started coming to me saying, oh, you publish, can you print my booklet? Can you do my logo? Can you print my marketing collateral? Well, suddenly I was doing all those things. The local Chevy dealer, I did all their marketing collateral for them, and I printed their monthly newsletter. So again, my business grew because I had exposure out there, and it was all because of the chamber. My relationship with the chamber is what made all these things possible. Now, could I have grown more other ways? Sure, but never would have happened without being a part of the chamber, because you have that voice, that community, that group of people that support you. And when they say, here's Susan and she's doing this, and can you help her? It means something. And when you can do that for other businesses, and you can say, hey, this is the best real estate agent in town, and you need to go see her, people listen. So I was very successful with that, and time went on, and I'm an ambitious person. I wanted to do more. I wanted to grow outside of this community. So I wanted to create now a regional publication. Well, that's a big deal. I mean, that is a huge undertaking to do this. And to do this, I needed to get 5 different counties involved in all the businesses. Now I'm just little Susan sitting here in this small little community. How am I going to do this? Well, I knew right away I needed the chamber's help. I could not do this without the chamber. So I also knew nobody in these other communities. However, through my association with the chamber, I knew people that knew people who were in these other chambers and in these other communities, and I needed doors open. Okay, so I went to these people I know, and I said, here's my plan. This is what I'd like to do and why. And this is going to help our community as well. But this is going to give us a bigger piece of the tourism industry and a way to promote our beautiful fishing lake, which is the bass fishing capital of the world, okay? And we didn't have anything specifically promoting that tourism industry and all these communities and businesses around the lake. So I went to some of the stakeholders in these places, in these different communities, and I said, I need help. I need help opening doors. And the way to do this is I need to get to the chambers. I need to get in front of the chamber boards, and I need to tell them my story and what I'm going to do, because they can open the doors to the business community for me. Because if the chamber supports me, even as a stranger, people are going to trust me. And you do not make sales. You do not grow your business without the know, like, and trust factor, okay? If people don't know, like, and trust you, you are going nowhere. And some stranger coming in from somewhere saying, I'm going to create this fabulous magazine and I want you to buy advertising in it and this is what I'm going to do, they're going to look at me and go, no, I don't think so. I want to see this magazine first. And I didn't even have something to show somebody. This was in my head what I was going to do. I had a little mock-up of a cover. That was about it. So what happened was these stakeholders took me by the hand, because that's the relationship I had, brought me in front of the board. And remember, these stakeholders were also board members of these other chambers. And one introduced me to another and to another. So they took me into the board and they said, board, I want you to put Susan on the agenda so she can talk to you about this fabulous project that she wants to do to help our community. Well, what happened? I was on the next board meeting and I was there in front of them with my little mock-up talking about what I was going to do. And because these stakeholders that I had built a relationship through other chambers with opened that door, I was immediately welcomed and everyone was excited. And what that did was, now I said, chamber, here's what I need your help with. I need you to help me promote what I'm going to do. I need you to help open the doors to these businesses that I need to get in front of and tell them that you support what we're doing because it's going to help our businesses. And as the chamber, that is what we do. We support and help our businesses. And by the way, we're going to have this beautiful magazine to give out to all the tourists coming out here to promote you. So I want you to support Susan with this magazine. So they sent out a beautiful email out to their membership. You know, they talked me up. I went out there, I got the chamber list from them. I got all the right people to talk to, not the people who signed up for the chamber. The people who own the company, the decision makers, they gave me the names. They made introductions. They walked me into U.S. Sugar Corporation, huge corporation, and said, you need to support Susan with this project. And U.S. Sugar supported me, okay? This could not have been possible without the chamber. So I cannot tell you enough how important you being an active member of your chamber can make to your business. And you have to be active. I'm telling you, going to networking, just doing a few things, listen to my story. I'm telling you, I launched a regional magazine in literally 6 months, which should have taken 2 years. And it was uber successful out of the gate. And why? Because of the chambers. Because I went and made the chambers my home base, where they held all the businesses in the palms of their hands. And I got them to promote me, to give me that know, like, and trust factor with the community, which made something that should have taken me 2 years happen in 1 year, 6 months of prep, and then selling for 3 months, and then production. And in a year, we had this gorgeous regional magazine that everybody, it was like a tabletop cocktail table magazine. And they were absolutely over the moon about it. So this is how you can utilize the chamber to make you successful. And you have to be willing to invest the time in it. Don't say I'm too busy. Don't say I can't take the time away from doing this. If you are serious about growing your business and you want doors open to you to people who you would never get in front of any other way, who may not be your client, but who may be the person who can open that door or put that recommendation in for you to grow your business, they're just as important. Because you can't focus on only the people who are buying your product. You need everyone to know you and like you, because those people who are not your ideal customer are the people who are going to recommend you to others you may never even know about that are in their circle of people. So this is my big story about how you can be so successful and how you can make a difference in your community, in your business, in your chamber, because you being a part of it can even set the direction of your chamber. If you're not liking what your chamber is doing, if you don't feel they're not doing it enough for you, get involved, make a change, because it's not happening without you. You can't sit there and just bitch about how you don't like what they're not doing. You need to go in there and you need to put your voice in there, and you need to rally your other business community around you, and you all need to make it happen. And you can, because if I can do it, the person who 20 years ago was afraid when I walked into a networking meeting to even walk up to a stranger, look at me today. And I owe so much of this to the relationships and what the chamber did for me in helping me grow and become a leader in my community. Christopher?
Yeah, Susan. My goodness gracious, you are speaking my language right there. It's amazing how much truth is in what you're saying right now. It doesn't matter if you're doing a regional magazine or a local magazine, or you've got a local dress shop, for goodness sakes. It's the same regardless. And the chamber is a force to be dealt with, but to be dealt with on that supports you, not against you, but support you and your activity. I love what you've been saying here, Susan. I really do. Do you think people could replicate what you did with the magazine? No, that's kind of tough there.
Well, and again, it's like you said, that was just happened to be the business I was in. But if you think about when I went and created the regional magazine, those people, that was not like a local thing for them. This was just a big regional tourism destination guide. The point is that the relationships, it didn't matter what I was doing. The relationships that I made, if I wanted to start, let's say I had a coffee shop and I wanted to open a second coffee shop and I wanted to open it in this other community where I didn't know anybody, those relationships work the same way. You go have somebody introduce you over there at the chamber that that has, some influence in that community. And you say, hey, here's my friend so-and-so, and they're going to be opening a coffee shop here, and, help them and introduce them and do all this. That works just the same for a coffee shop, an insurance person, a marketing company. I don't care what it is. The chamber, that relationships and those doors and those people that you meet and the influencers in that community, the stakeholders, they are so critical no matter what business you have. Doesn't matter. You don't need to have a magazine. That was just me.
Well, of course. In fact, even if you have, let's say the coffee shop you mentioned, let's not forget that it's not a one and done situation when you're part of a chamber of commerce. They're going to support you throughout the length of time you're in business, as long as you are in and supporting the Chamber of Commerce as well. It's a give and take situation. But just because you just opened and the chamber jumped behind you and said, wow, you got to go to this great coffee shop. Well, it doesn't stop there. It continues on, just like with your magazine. The people continue to support it well after it had begun, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the other side of the coin is I had to perform my part. I had to be transparent, and I had to be, do what I said I was going to do. I had to produce. So they weren't going to stand behind me if I said I was going to produce this magazine. It didn't, or it wasn't anything like they expected it to turn out like I said it was. I had to do my part and perform as well. So it's a give and take here too. But yes, the chamber will support you. And the more active a member you are, the more success and the more support you're going to get, because the more people the more connections you have, the more visible you are. Being visible is so important.
Right. Of course, it's probably unique. I mentioned a coffee shop, but I do know in my chamber that I dug in and worked from the inside out on. There was a guy with a coffee shop who had been a longtime chamber member. In fact, he was chairman of the board for a time. And it was a hole in the wall coffee shop. It really was. But you know what? It was a gathering place of the influencers of the community. Why? Because it was developed by a chamber member that had great respect in the process. So with that respect, he built his, not he built his business, but he sustained his business in a way that I've never seen. Every time I went to the coffee shop, I'd run into either a councilman or the mayor or the chief of police or somebody. There always were there. And of course, yeah, if I'd been running from somebody, I wouldn't want to go in the shop, right? So, but it's true. It's true, true, true. Influencers are your friends.
Yes.
Yeah, ask a question.
Please do.
I was looking at the membership benefits. Basically, it's a chart that the Cabarrus Regional Chamber has here, all the way from, let's see, what does it say? Chairman's circle of $3,200 a year down to nonprofits paying $250 a year. They got 6 categories here. Everything from $250, $350, $500, $700, $1,600, $3,200, and all the benefits supposedly you're going to get if you do all these things. Well, for what I'm doing, just getting started, perhaps doing either going that direction, as I was saying to you, Christopher, or going with the BNI, which I visited last week. Either one of them, it's an investment of $400 or $500 or more just to get started for a year. What are the advantages, or what are the things, the involvement things that I should be looking at in these membership levels? I mean, what is a critical piece? Everything's changed so much with chambers since I was last involved with them in the 90s.
Susan, go ahead.
Well, obviously you want to be at every networking event and every place where you can get seen and get known.
Yeah, but she's asking, should she join the BNI or the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, one of the two. I can't invest in both of them for 2020. It's going to be a stretch. So
for me, the chamber has always been my first choice, and then stretch out from there, because the chamber has so many different people that of different levels where you can, as I was talking about, where you can rub shoulders with leadership in your community and get access to them, which opens more doors for you. I think you have a whole community of businesses there, where BNI is more limited.
Well, what they're saying that the advantage of BNI here is because we're in just a little part of the whole Charlotte metro area, and all the BNIs are connected here. There are 15 to 20 of them. And you can go as a member, say I join one of them here in Cabarrus Concord area, I can visit others and network out throughout all the huge Charlotte area, which I couldn't do as a member of the Cabarrus Regional, which is really only Cabarrus County.
Cynthia, have you been part of BNI before?
No, I have not. This is very new to me. This is something Melanie Richards suggested in one of the meetings recently.
Sure.
And so I reached out and got wrangled an invitation to visit. And
right. Well, I'll give you my own personal experience with BNI. And this is while I was growing my business with the Chamber of Commerce. What I saw was very, very simple. In each of those, they certainly only allow one business in every category. That's number one, which is fine, because you're sharing leads with each other is what you're doing in a BNI group. But you have also a governing body that reminds me of my basic training in the Army. I mean, you've got to be there every Thursday at noon and spend your an hour and a half. And if you're not there 2 Thursdays, then they're going to kick you out or charge you or whatever. I
got a feeling there was kind of a regimented.
It's
very
to the
regimented.
Point. I'm a kind of a free spirit. I want to kind of take it on my terms. And with the Chamber of Commerce, you do take it on your terms. You want to volunteer for a group and get involved with them. That's what you do. Sure, you want to keep your commitments, but let's say, for example, your membership there, and it sounded like probably the next level up from nonprofits was what, 300 or 350?
Yeah, their general, which is the next one, is 350, and then they've got an influencer, which just really only adds an ad with a website link in their newsletter and
Yeah.
some sort of spotlight blog post, blah, blah,
No,
blah.
no, you go into the lowest membership possible outside of a nonprofit because you're
Yeah, I'm
not
not a
one.
nonprofit.
And usually they have an individual business.
Yeah, they
And
do.
you'd be surprised the flexibility of a chamber of commerce as new businesses come in all the time. And I don't know if money's a problem or money's an issue, but let's just put it.
Oh,
let's,
it's
let's
always
say,
an issue right now.
oh yeah,
We're
okay.
really thin
Well,
with
you move
grandchildren
in,
and my mom.
you find a chamber that you feel comfortable with.
Mhm.
And that by finding how you find those is you go to their networking events and you get to know the upper echelon, like the executive director or the president of the chamber. You make sure that they've got a very active ambassador base, people that are out there in the community and working with the local businesses. The ambassador base, an active ambassador base is critical as far as
I have no idea about this chamber. All I know is that they're in a nice building about a mile away from my house. So.
Okay, well, that's really good. Then a mile away from the house, that's even better.
Yeah, it's close.
Right. Now, with their membership at $350, though, you can walk in and say, I want to be. Tell me about your chamber. First of all, you go in and just say, yeah, tell me about your chamber. I'm interested in joining, and they'll sit you down for an hour and talk to you about the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
But then you tell them, and I think Susan will agree. In fact, I've got Rick and Scott and Bob on here, and they'll agree with me. I think if they don't jump on here and dispute what I'm saying, but you can say, I've got a new business, and I think probably I want to be a part, and I guarantee you I'm going to be active. But let's do this over 3 months as far as the 350. Is that a problem? There's not a chamber I know of that turn you down. They'll say, yeah, great, come on in.
Basically request to do
a payment
quarter and try
a payment
it out.
schedule. Yeah.
A payment schedule. Susan, every chamber does that, right?
We did that all the time. I even did that, we had special pricing when they were getting into the chamber guide for the first time and they were signing up to be a member. There was a one-time special price for them to join. The chambers are always looking for members. And if you want to be a part of the chamber, they're going to make it easy for you, or they should be. If they're not, you need to go see another chamber because you're not in the right place.
Exactly. Yeah. If they say no to that, then go look for another chamber because the next one will say yes. Rick, do you agree with that?
I was going to jump in. I agree 200% that just about every chamber will offer to work with you in, again, a variety of different, payment structures. If you go in there honestly and openly and say, listen, I really want to join your chamber. I like what I've seen. I like what I hear. I just can't afford, it 100% up front. Can you work with me?
Okay.
Or would it be unreasonable to ask that you work out some sort of a payment plan? And they're not going to say, yes, it's unreasonable.
No.
Now, the answer may be, I can't make that decision, but I'll bring it up with the executive director, who probably is not going to be the person that you're sitting in front of when you go in to learn more about the chamber.
Okay.
But make that clear that I do want to join. I do have financial issues that I'd like to perhaps talk to you about. Is it unreasonable to ask for a payment plan? And I guarantee you that you will be in that chamber, and even if they give you a 3-month plan or a 3-year, quarterly payout, you're now talking about fraction of the $350.
Oh, of course. Okay.
And as far as the level, I agree with both Susan and Christopher. A higher level, again, may get you a few extra perks, but from an exposure standpoint, there is zero difference. It's entirely up to you and how much you want to interact and get to know people and get to be seen and have them know who and what you are and what you do.
Okay.
Now, Bob, would you jump in? Can you contrast and compare BNI with the Chamber of Commerce? Can you do that for us?
Well, I have some experience with both, and the BNI is very regimented. I'd agree with your earlier comment, Chris, that if you're not there regularly, and the commitment from my perspective is probably 2 hours a week, And if you're in leadership, it's probably more like 20 hours a month.
Whoa.
Because I was approached about helping form a new BNI chapter, and they wanted me to be in leadership, and that's just not an option for that time commitment issue. But yeah, if you don't show up for a couple of weeks, you're out of there. That's a problem. It's I was in the military when I was young, and I'm not interested in being back in the military at my age now. That's why BNI
I
is
never
just
want to be in the military. I'm too
very
old for that.
regimented. You get in, the program's very tight, and that works for some people. I don't want to completely disparage them. It just doesn't work for me. Whereas the chamber is much more kickback. I would very much agree with comments that Rick made. It really, the return on the effort you put into it really dictates what you get out of it.
Okay.
Obviously, the more you contribute, the more you participate. That has a big role in,
Of course.
they becoming a corporate sponsor. We call them platinum sponsors in our chamber. I don't know necessarily that the return on the ad spend, if you will, is necessarily a good thing. I trade services for my sponsorship. That's how I'm a local sponsor in my chamber. But if I was cutting a $5,000 check just to be on every newsletter, I'm not sure that would be a good return on that investment. So just things to consider.
Thank you, guys. That's very helpful. I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Augusta, Georgia in the 90s and pretty active. I got to the point where I finally just stopped because I found that all the networking meetings, all of the business owners that I needed to contact would send their flunkies, would send people and their staff to them. And I got nowhere with it. I literally got nowhere. I couldn't get to the business owners that way. They weren't there. They were not interacting at the chamber. They sent their marketing person, their some manager, whatever. And I couldn't, it was like they were gatekeepers and they were just there to socialize and have fun.
I think you might see a change, in the current years. And I believe that if a business is going to be a part of a chamber, I don't think they're going to send their underlings. I think they're going to want to be there because it's going to benefit them. And if they send, their underlings, they're not representing who they are. And it's really, you're right, a social club. And I think it has dramatically changed over the years where the business.
Well, that's awesome to hear because it was very discouraging.
There.
For me, it was a waste of money, just like being in the yellow pages was a waste of money.
Susan, look at what you started, Susan, right here. You started
the BNI thing. I agree that I've looked into things like that before. They're too regimented for me. And again, you're too limited to who you're meeting. And you're only there to network, where the chamber gives you more than that. They can give you business training. They have luncheons where you learn things from people. I just think the chamber is more overall. It's a truly business and community oriented organization,
right?
Where BMI is really, to me, just a networking club.
Yeah,
two different things.
Definitely came across as that.
Things.
Yeah. I don't like the regimentation. I'm not a regimented person.
Yeah. As far as meeting people, I have found that although some places may not be able to send a higher level person, because some businesses are big and obviously the CEO of the hospital is not coming to every luncheon.
Of course.
But they will usually send somebody that is a community representative, like the hospital would send their community advocate. And even just making a relationship with them can open the door to you sitting down with the CEO and having coffee, because you just have to ask for an introduction if you get a chance to build a little relationship with them.
Okay.
So you can always utilize whoever's coming to that meeting as a door, as a stepping stone to open it to the person that you need to get in front of.
Okay. That actually happened to me. We had a new hospital built in the area, and I certainly knew who the CEO was, I knew of him anyway. But I got to know more the public relations person, and we sat and talked a number of times and became friends. And there was a time that I actually did that very thing. I said, I need to sit down and chat with the CEO, Henry, whatever his name was back then. And I've got an idea that maybe, and it wasn't about selling him anything. It was an idea about in the community, doing something in the community is what it was about. But within a week, I was sitting down with the CEO, and
Nice.
their doors aren't open all the time.
Right. Well, I thank you all. I'm sorry I have to jump off, but I've got to go to another appointment. Crazy day here. But
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Cynthia.
a little bit of time to answer my question.
I'll be talking with you soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank
All
you,
right.
Susan. Thank you,
Hi,
Rick.
Cynthia.
Bye. Bye, Scott. Bye, Bob. Thank you.
Scott, do you have any reaction to Susan's what Susan has said here? It's kind of right along the lines of what we try to teach. What do you think, Scott?
I always encourage working from the inside out. I also find chambers to be extremely willing and open. It all depends on, of course, people everywhere, and you can run into different personalities in different places. But the Nightdale Chamber that I've been working with recently has they couldn't be a warmer, more welcoming group of people that I'd like, to be able to center my influence in and to begin to help. And I, depending on the part of the day that you catch me, I'm not very politically correct. So I'll just keep my BNI opinions to myself. I'll just leave it at that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Well, you're finding that that BNI groups are actually opening up their mindset, and I'm seeing in the future there's going to be a lot more cross memberships, where a person in BNI within the next, I'm going to say, year or so, most probably will be a part or a member of a chamber. Now, it's even been discussed that it may not be potentially an individual that's going to join the chamber, but it's going to be the BNI central organization that is going to want and to be represented within the chamber. Now, I don't know how that's going to work from a standpoint of, the members of the BNI group participating, but I think the first phase is that the BNI group central are phasing into wanting to become a member of the chamber as a unit. I don't know if you're experiencing that, Susan, or I've heard about that. But
I haven't heard anything about that at all. And I can't even imagine how that might work as a chamber membership, because these people don't work for the BNI. They're a member of it. And I can't even imagine how that might work.
In the same fashion that
Why don't you give, Rick, why don't you give the example of Barbara in Goshen, New York, from the chamber there?
Well, I know that the Goshen Chamber of Commerce is literally a member of some of the other Chamber of Commerce in the local area.
Mm-hmm.
So just that as the Goshen is being represented, we'll say, by the Pine Bush Chamber of Commerce, I think that same representation can be from a BNI chapter.
Well, we
Yeah, it
have
wouldn't allow all the members to be a part of the chamber, but BNI, that chapter would be represented by some leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I learned. Susan, we also have a group. It's called the Chamber Leaders Mastermind, and that is only for chamber leaders. And we have 2 sessions a month. And our last session was kind of a year in review, and with Barbara Martinez, which is executive director of the Goshen, New York Chamber of Commerce, and myself, going over all the guests we had. in that mastermind leadership program. And one thing she brought up was quite interesting because she had decided to really go outside the box. And I know we're getting a little off topic here, and I apologize, Susan. We get on these tangents sometimes, okay? But what she decided to do was she got a relationship with the chamber. In fact, she went to a BNI meeting a couple of times, and she said they looked at her and saying, "What is she doing here? You know, she's the chamber executive." Well, what happened was that she said, "Okay, here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to give the BNI group, this whole group, a chamber membership. So all of you don't have to pay individually until you decide that maybe you would like to." So she brought in the entire BNI group as chamber members. Now, she also did that with another group, and she's about to have, I think next week, a large get-together of these folks to welcome them into the Chamber of Commerce. So she's really working outside the box here. What do you think about that, Susan?
Well, I don't know from now here I have my board of the chamber hat on. From a financial standpoint, I don't know that that's great, because unless she charged the BNI chapter a goodly amount of money, that's a lot of memberships that, you know, because again, you need those memberships to help create the revenue for the chamber between that and fundraising. It doesn't happen, you know, and memberships alone don't even support the chamber normally. So I don't know, that's a lot of revenue. I'm looking at it from my financial side of it. That's not in there. But if it's for a limited time to give them exposure to the chamber with the opportunity to then join, then I think it's a brilliant idea. But it'd have to be like a limited time.
Yeah.
Here, you get some exposure to it. We're going to do our best to convince you that you should have a membership, you know?
Right. And I'm not sure if it was limited or not. I just know that she made that offer, and it well, and she's still working on it right now herself.
Yeah, but I think in that particular offer, keep in mind, and I know you're referring it to from a financial loss potentially. Here we've had a chamber that grew from 100 some odd members in 9 months to over 350. So they're enjoying, you know, some of the benefits of more members. So maybe there is some flexibility in there to try, you know, these other avenues, if you will.
Like I said, it's just my nature from a business person's point of view that I tend to look at the financial picture as well. And again, having been on the board and being privy to financial statements all the time, and knowing how tight a chamber can run and how much fundraising needs to be done to really support it in the way it needs to, it's just natural. And by the way, my traditional training is as an accountant. So, you know, I'm the bean counter too. So that could explain why my brain went immediately to numbers and dollars.
Understood entirely. Susan, is there anything you want to close out with? We're well beyond our time here, but we got off on a tangent here. But I think we helped somebody in the process too. But would you like to close out with anything to the folks, both on live and on the replay?
All I can say is the chamber, when utilized properly and when you're willing to invest, and again, if you're not willing to invest in your business in different ways, and they're not always monetarily, it's time investment, you're never going to grow. Whether you have to invest money to take a program or learn something, or whether you're investing your time in the chamber, you're never going to be as successful as you want to be unless you have that mindset that you have to invest in yourself and your company to grow. And the chamber is a wonderful place because your investment is low dollar-wise generally. The time investment can be so valuable because over time, those relationships you make are they're incredibly valuable, not just to your business, but to you as a person, to feeling a centered part of your community, to becoming, having a leadership role for people will come to you. It's a wonderful feeling, and you learn so much, and all those things translate into a successful business. So all I can say is, if you aren't convinced enough yet to join the chamber, and I don't know what else to tell you, because it is a fabulous place for you to meet people, build relationships, and grow your business, and have a great life and fun at the same time, and meet all these wonderful people who you can share experiences with.
That's fantastic. In fact, Susan, if I were close enough, I would hug you right now, because it's all so true, and so many times that we've talked about it in the group and around the trainings and so forth. And I really appreciate you're bringing a very solid perspective to the group to actually get a view of it from a little different voice. And we talked about that before, as far as hearing it from a different voice. So thank you so much, Susan. And I will say to everyone here on the weekly training webinar that I appreciate your being here. And I thank Susan Giddings for her participation and her expertise and knowledge and sharing that with us. Until next time, I want you all to listen, learn, and give. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.